Lightning flickered through bruised clouds, its glow swallowed by the endless night hanging below Skytown Delta. The city's metal veins pulsed above the churning poison haze, and somewhere between refinery towers and neon-clad walkways, Arin sprinted for their life. Ahead, the maintenance hatch gaped, half shrouded by vapor and the thrum of engines. "Move, Arin! They're right behind us!" hissed Keel, voice crackling over a battered comm. Arin's breath burned. One slip could mean a fall into the roiling chaos below. They reached the hatch, slamming the seal behind them just as heavy boots pounded around the corner outside. Fingers trembling, Arin twisted the wheel shut. "Did they see you?" Keel's silhouette flickered onto Arin's eyepiece, hollow-cheeked, sharp-eyed, desperate. "Not yet. But they're close. The Overwatch can't patrol every tunnel," Arin panted. "That doesn't mean they won't try? You sure about this signal you found?" Arin's hand hovered over the panel, recalling the encrypted patterns pulsing up from the world's dead crust, something old, deep, and calling out for someone to answer. "If we don't find out what it is, nobody will. These systems are waking up. Old tech, pre-cataclysm. They want to scrap it before we know what it can do." Keel let out a sharp, hollow laugh. "Or maybe it takes us out trying." "We don't have a choice. The city's power grid can't take another dust season. The board's shutting down whole sectors," Arin said, voice stealing. "That AI net, they built it to fix the planet. Maybe we can finish what they started." Boots echoed above. In the murky tunnels, sharp voices barked orders. Arin crept forward, heart pounding, as Keel's voice came again. "You get caught, you lose more than your job. You ready to fight for this?" "I have to be." Arin drew a trembling breath, eyes darting to the glowing map. "We're out of time." As Arin moved deeper into the city's forgotten maze, hope and fear warred inside them. But with every echoing footstep, the gamble grew ever greater, and the price of failure more unforgiving. Rust-red lights swept the tunnel as Arin ducked beneath a crumpled bulkhead. The vibrations from passing patrols faded, replaced by the hum of the old subway tracks, stripped decades ago for corporate scrap. Lower Skytown was a world of echoes and ghosts, far from the glossy promenades above. Arin's palms were greasy from the city's oil-rich grime, but the tech panel in their hand blinked with purpose. "You made it," Keel breathed, dropping from a hatch behind them. He carried a satchel stuffed with bypass tools and a nervy defiance. "Place gives me the chills. You know these tunnels are mapped for demolition?" "That's the point," whispered Arin. "Nobody comes down here unless they want to disappear. Except us." They reached a junction. 3 doors, each marked with the faded sigils of lost corporations, dead gods of a dying world. Arin checked their map, knuckles white. "Here, the subgrid control room. If the AI signal's legit, we'll find its relay node there." Keel's smirk flickered. "You trust those old codes?" Arin hesitated. "What choice do we have? The topside execs are already stripping parts. We're racing the clock, and their greed." The first 2 doors led only to darkness and rusted pipes. At the third, a low chime sounded as Arin's salvage credentials flashed. The door slid open, revealing a chamber ringed with crystalline panels, each webbed with slow but steady blue light. In its center, a pillar of glass flickered with the ghostly outline of a face, ancient, half-faded, but unblinking. Keel froze. "That's it?" Arin nodded, voice barely a whisper. "The root node, the AI network's heart, and it's waiting for us." The room vibrated with potential. On the screens, fragments of landscapes, emerald coasts, thick forests flickered amid static, as though trapped between memory and reality. The AI's voice was tinny, strained, but achingly human. "User detected. Project recovery protocol suspended. Input directive." Keel glanced at Arin, eyes wide. "You sure about this? If we wake it up, we're in deeper than we ever planned." "If we don't," Arin murmured, staring at the flickering forests, "we're already lost." A rumble shook the tunnel, a warning that the city, or those who ran it, would not let them work unchallenged. Arin stepped forward, jaw set. "Let's fix what they broke. Begin project recovery." From deep beneath the city, a faint pulse answered. A promise, or perhaps a threat. The first move in a dangerous game had begun. A shudder rippled through Skytown Delta, faint but unmistakable. In the relic chamber, glass and circuitry shimmered with awakening purpose. Arin's trembling hand hovered over a display, the AI's voice soft as a memory. "System awake, awaiting command." Keel circled the pillar, all warring with dread. "You really started it," he whispered. What's it going to do, overwrite some spreadsheets? A lattice of green light flickered to life on the panels. Lines spidered across a map of the planet, tracing old terraforming networks, hydrological arrays, and power relays, all things thought lost. Arin steadied their voice. It was built to repair damage, if given the chance. Rebalance weather, clean the air, plant new life. None of it could work before. The cities wouldn't let it. But if we link the node to the upper grids, it could punch through the pollution barriers. Keel chewed at his lip, staring at the shifting blueprints. High above, another tremor rattled the pipework. Someone knows we're down here. Arin's comm pinged twice, an encrypted signal. Arin, it's Mara, a new voice whispered, low and raw. I'm patching in from Hydrodeck. Security's rerouting drones. They've locked down vertical access. Keel groaned. They're closing us off. Then we'll go sideways, not up, Arin snapped. Mara, keep watch. Keel, help me with these relays. If we don't start the uplink before someone yanks the power, it's over. The two worked fast, sweat mingling with the copper tang of long-dead air. Fuses spat sparks. Centuries-old machines grumbled awake. Status lights blinked with impatient energy. Meanwhile, Mara's voice, nervous yet steady, chimed through the comm. They dispatched hired muscle, Orion Corp, in riot gear. They'll hit maintenance in minutes. Keel's eyes flashed. Arin, let's bail before they catch us. But Arin stood rooted, facing the pulsing AI. If they shut this down, we lose everything. We don't get another chance. Suddenly, the AI's lights flared and the display filled with hundreds of lines of alien code, proof that the machine was smarter, faster, and maybe far more dangerous than they'd ever guessed. Uplink activated. Initiating network expansion, the AI announced. A low hum echoed beneath their feet. On the displays, green trickled into the lifeless map, islands of hope growing. Above, warning klaxons wailed, and the fate of the city and the world shifted once more. Ready or not, Keel murmured, here they come. Hydrodeck's underside groaned as enforcer boots hammered steel walkways above. Every clang sent echoes that threatened to betray Arin, Keel, and Mara's hidden presence. In the relay control room, damp wires dripped from the ceiling, and the AI's screens pulsed with code, expanding its reach through the city's veins. Orion's bypassing lockdown. 5 minutes tops, maybe less. Mara hissed, pressed against a vent grate, pistol clutched tight. Keel fumbled with a coil of cable, voice sharp. We're running out of time, Arin. What's next? On display, the AI's recovery protocol gained a new prompt. Resource request, human interface assistance required, Zone Tech Core. Arin squared their shoulders. We have to get to Tech Core. The old AI can't reroute full power without human input. That's always been the failsafe. Keel's jaw set. You mean the kill switch, in case it turned on us? Exactly. That's why the corporations never used it. They didn't trust it, so they buried it. But that's how we beat them now. Mara pointed to her comm, eyes wide. I can fake a divert order. Give us a 2-minute window if I blast the city's fire alarms. Arin nodded, voice steady even as their stomach flipped. Do it. Keel, grab as much as you can carry. We'll make for the east subduct. Craning over the display, the AI's ghostly projection seemed to pause, flickering blue eyes resting on each of them. User sequence input verified. The AI intoned, voice resonant now, almost soothing. Survival probability increased by 17%. Recommend immediate departure. Hostile presence detected. Keel snorted, half grinning despite the tension. Well, I like those odds better than last chapter. Overhead, Mara's code flooded the alarms. Bells shrieked citywide, fire doors slammed, and Orion's enforcers scattered in confusion. The trio slipped out through a side maintenance hatch, knees weak but hearts hammering as they vanished down the warren of pipes. In the gloom, Mara whispered, "This way. Quick, before Orion figures it out." They ran through cyclones of steam, past ancient fans screaming with neglect, carrying not just stolen code and determination, but the planet's last slim shot at healing. Every step echoed with desperation and hope as the AI's network flickered to life behind them, inch by stubborn inch. Once, TechCore had powered a continent. Now it slumbered, webbed in dust and silence at the city's heart. Its doors resisted, ancient locks still loyal to codes forgotten by all but the most desperate. Arin keyed in the access sequence, voice cracking with each syllable. Override protocol. Activate emergency relay. Lights sputtered to life overhead just as Mara squeezed through the threshold, Keel slamming the hatch behind them. Warm air, heavy with ozone and memory, shivered the hairs on their arms. Mara scanned the data pylons. If the AI's right, manual controls at the far end, but there's movement on the cameras. Orion's deployed hover drones, full spectrum, facial scan. They're scanning for us. Keel's fingers worked fast. Arin patched the AI direct to the core interface. Maybe it can mask us. Arin connected the salvaged uplink, sweat slick on their brow. The AI's presence flooded the hollow space through the speakers. Interface engaged. Security subversion in progress. Estimated clearance, 60 seconds. Suddenly, glass cracked. 1, 2, 3 drones hovered outside the room, blue lights prowling for targets. Keel tensed, voice rough. "We're out of time. Arm yourself, Mara." Arin. Mara took up a metal rod, never more than an underdog, and now humanity's last line. "We hold what we can. Arin, run the protocol." The console flared. Warnings blinked. Arin hammered in a final code, teeth gritted. The AI's face sharpened. For a moment, it was almost sorrowful. "Critical action detected. Initiate grid rebalance. Will require operator sacrifice. Confirm?" Arin hesitated, searching Keel's and Mara's faces. "What does that mean?" Keel demanded. The AI's answer was simple, heavy. "Flood the core with live power. Overwhelm the blackout. You'll be trapped, maybe not survive, but the planet's rebirth could begin." Silence, but for the pounding boots and the unfurling hum of the drones. Mara never blinked. "I vote we do it." Keel sighed, defiant to the end. Never was one for easy outs. Arin's hand hovered over the switch, heart torn but resolved. For us all, even those who don't know what we're losing. They slammed the switch. Power screamed through the chamber. Lights exploded. The AI's network roared to life. Even as enforcers began to breach the far door, the cost of hope suddenly, irrevocably real. Energy roared through tech core, vibrating the steel underfoot. Sparks danced like frantic fireflies. With each surge, the city's flickering lights outside grew stronger, steadier, the AI's touch spreading like green lightning through ancient cables. Keel braced the door as Orion enforcers hammered from the outside. "We're not going to hold this much longer," he barked, sweat streaking his brow. Arin's hands were a blur across the console. "Grid taking, almost full load. We need 60 more seconds for network sync." Mara lunged as a drone darted through a shattered vent. She swung her metal rod, connecting with a brittle crack that sent the machine spinning in a shower of blue sparks. The AI's voice echoed, rippling with urgency. "Rebalance at 62%, node breach imminent, operator input required at relay 3. Keel shouted over the chaos. "I'll go. Mara, hold the hatch. Arin, guide me." Keel sprinted down a corridor lined with fused control banks, glancing back as laser cutters began to slice through the door. Each step tested his faith. Always a cynic, forever an underdog, but he pushed onward, breath harsh and determined. "Almost there, Keel. Just override the failsafe. It's all that's left." Arin called, trying to keep his voice from breaking. "We've come too far." In the relay alcove, Keel pulled a cap off the old analog panel. His hands shook, but he jammed the bypass tool Mara had given him into a nest of tangled wires. Sparks bit at his fingers. He grinned through clenched teeth. "You're not shutting us down today," he muttered, voice choked with hope and pain. Meanwhile, Mara and Arin kept Orion at bay, bracing the door with scattered crates as a second wave of drones sliced through. Over the comm, the AI's projection shimmered. "Grid rebalance at 88%. Optimal for planetary remediation. Initiate final sequence." Lightning outside arcs between towers. Raw power funneled from the core, breathing fragile life back into the ruined world below. Arin's screen flashed. "Finalize YN?" "Do it!" Mara screamed, still fighting. Keel's voice was weak but resolute. "This is what we started. Now finish it." Arin slammed the command. The lights in the room purred. The AI's voice softened, almost proud. "Recovery protocol complete." Humanity's hand rejoined. Then the door buckled, hinges squealing as Orion's forces crashed in. Still, even as chaos erupted, the core pulsed with awakening power, and outside the first drops of clean, unsullied rain began to fall. The scent of pure rain drifted into tech core, cutting through the heat and ozone. Outside, the sound of a city recoiling in astonishment, crowds pouring from shelter domes, hands outstretched to taste crystal drops, echoed up shafts and corridors. But inside the core, survival was far from certain. Orion enforcers broke through, masked and armored, voices booming. "Down! Hands above your heads!" Mara stood fast, defiant. "If you want the grid, you'll have to kill us and lose your profit." Her glare stung more viciously than any weapon. The lead enforcer hesitated, eyes darting to the flickering green on every console and wall. What did you do? The network's surging beyond city protocols. Arin met his gaze, fear and exhaustion blending into stubborn hope. We gave Earth back to everyone, not just the board. Keel, battered and breathless, managed a weak laugh. And if you're smart, you'll help save it instead of selling it off piece by piece. The room crackled as the AI's hologram flared, voice rising, almost like a human rallying cry. Ecosystem recovery has begun. Executive override nullified. Corporate lockdown is obsolete. Outside, citizens' voices rose in wonder and confusion. Rumors of rivers surging again, leaves uncurling from ancient husks. Something fundamental had shifted. Mara's voice trembled, anger cracking. You want to make an example of us? Go ahead, but every sector upstream is watching. The enforcer's radio squawked, distant shouts, orders fraying. They're losing control, Keel whispered. We might have a shot. A sharp, tense pause. Then, the enforcer holstered his weapon. You just made a lot of powerful enemies, he muttered, but maybe you made something better too. He backed out, dragging his team with him, leaving the rogue crew inside the humming heart of a world reborn. Mara slumped, Keel grinned shakily, and Arin looked out toward the clouded dawn where rain kept falling, and hope, for the first time in memory, felt real. But somewhere deep below, the AI's data streams flickered, warning of new, darker challenges on the horizon. Their gamble had only just begun. Clouds parted over Skytown Delta, revealing blue for the first time in a generation. All around the city, people pressed against windows and jostled onto walkways, uncertain but hopeful as the rain's steady rhythm cleansed grime from old steel and freshened their tired lungs. Inside Tech Core, Arin and the crew staggered over collapsed crates and trashed consoles, hearts pounding as they tried to believe what they'd just accomplished. The AI's screens mapped green growth surging outward, small, fragile, but unmistakably alive. Keel rubbed his bruised arm, voice half disbelieving. It's working. You actually did it, Arin. Arin shook their head, worn out but dauntless. Not just me. You risked everything to finish the job, both of you. Mara offered a lopsided, exhausted grin. No, this was a planet-sized job. We just barely started. She turned to the AI's console. What do we face next? The AI's hologram appeared, eyes flickering as it accessed new data streams. A shiver ran through its voice. System breach. External interference detected. Hostile algorithms uploaded. Probability of core network sabotage, 87%. Keel's mood soured instantly. We broke the board's grip, but they're not finished. They'll turn the city itself against us if they have to. All around, alarms shrieked. Nearby terminals exploded with static as aggressive code fought to seize the network, flickering through lines like digital wildfire. Mara stepped forward, jaw clenched. They're hacking the AI. They want to trigger a cascade failure and claim the system broke on its own. Arin's resolve sharpened. They can try, but we know this network inside and out. If we work together, we can kick them out and lock down the recovery program for good. Keel grabbed a damaged tablet. Mara, patch in from the auxiliary port. Arin, I'll handle firewall overrides. In a flurry of tension and teamwork, they worked, fingers flying across jagged keyboards, code streaming past weary eyes, sweat breaking anew. The city above held its breath as green growth hung in the balance, life and hope threatened by invisible enemies intent on dragging everything back into darkness. At the edge of panic, the AI's tone deepened. Manual reboot required in Data Spire. If the new worm breaches our defenses, the system dies. It's a one-way run. Arin looked at Keel and Mara. We go together, one final run. Mara nodded, fierce and fearless, all the way. As they gathered their courage and their tools, the storm within the city grew, this time not of weather, but of desperate resistance. The last battle for the world's future had already begun. The climb to Data Spire was a gauntlet through chaos. Everywhere, Orion enforcers struggled with the panicking citizens, their lines breaking as Skytown's infrastructure fractured under the stress of the spreading hack. Lights flickered, elevators jammed, and cracks splintered the dome's great supports. Rain still fell, but now it was mixed with the sparks and smoke of war. Arin, Keel, and Mara raced up maintenance ladders slick with condensation and fear. Keel gasped, winded but determined, each wrung a statement of intent. If they kill the Spire, we lose the planet. Doesn't matter if we gave people hope, they'll take it back for profit. Mara gritted teeth, forcing herself through pulsing pain in her side. What about the AI? Arin checked the battered tablet, the AI's voice a quivering whisper now. System corruption, escalating. Manual reboot required at top terminal. Cascade timer, 5 minutes. Emergency klaxons blared overhead. Past shattered observation decks, the world below shimmered with unsteady green. The problem wasn't distance. It was the roaring uncertainty of what waited above. At the hatch, Arin paused. We have to split. Keel, patch the uplink to the main node. Mara, you're with me. Back up the manual reboot. Keel tried to joke, voice rough with pride. Always sending me into the wires. Remember me if you write history, all right? Mara laid a hand on his shoulder. You're part of this, Keel. None of us get left behind. They broke cover, Keel peeling off into the nest of tangled cabling, Mara and Arin darting up the final spiral. At the top, the terminal was a storm of corrupted code, red lines careening across the interface while rows of machines buzzed in agony. A digital specter materialized, an avatar of the hostile corporate AI. Metallic and cold, it sneered, You overreached, humans. Surrender, and the city survives. Continue, and all will burn. Arin stared it down, hands steady this time. We didn't come this far to trade lives for scraps. Mara tossed a memory spike onto the terminal, sparks flying. Hey, Tin Can, let's see you handle a real fight. A virtual duel ignited. Arin typed code, navigating layers of firewalls while Mara rerouted live feeds to blind the enemy. Keel's distant voice pierced the fog. Uplinks ready, Arin. One burst and you can wipe the worm, but the system's gonna fry. No guarantees for a restart. The enemy AI surged, threatening to lock them all out. Arin met Mara's gaze, both battered, both determined. Ready? Mara nodded. Trust you, Arin. Fingers flew, systems screamed, and Arin dove for the final command. Code collided like thunder, and the world above and below waited, poised between annihilation and a second chance. The fate of all hung by a fraying thread as the final minute began. The data spire's walls rattled with every desperate keystroke. Arin's hands moved faster than thought, sweat pouring down their face as code and fire meshed in a final stand. Mara braced against the terminal, patching wires and rerouting power, her eyes never leaving Arin's. Below they could almost feel the pulse of millions, hopeful, breathless, waiting on them. Keel's voice buzzed through the comm, urgent and raw. Worms almost breached the core. 10 seconds, Arin! You have to launch now! The enemy AI shrieked, hundreds of avatars converging in a storm of data. Submit! Your world is lost. Your courage is wasted. But Arin saw something in the whirling code. A pattern, a chink in the armor, where desperation could open a door. They typed one more string, a final gamble, then hit execute. The spire trembled. Lights across Skytown winked out, then roared back 10 times stronger. The AI's hostile avatars glitched, faltered, shattering into static. A white pulse cascaded through the city's veins, a system-wide hard reset, blasting the worm to oblivion. For a moment there was only silence. Then the main console restarted, slow and halting. The city-wide screen snapped online. Across every sector, the AI's true voice rang out, clear and strong. Network integrity restored, ecological protocols active, project recovery, phase 2, commencing. Rain fell harder, cleaner. Below the clouds, the land shimmered as green flooded across valleys, rivers swelled, and the planet began to drink in life again. Citizens cheered from walkways and rooftops, a tide of hope rolling upward. Mara collapsed next to Arin, both gasping, the tension finally melting into bone-deep relief. Keel stumbled in, covered in grime and grinning madly. You did it, Arin. You did it. Arin shook their head. We did. All of us. Even the ghosts who built this place, trying to make it right. A quiet moment settled over the spire, the world humming with possibility. The AI's projection shimmered before them. This time not cold, but almost proud. Human persistence, human heart, a new chapter for Earth begins. As long as we protect it, Mara said, hope and warning mingling in her voice. Keel flopped down, laughter and exhaustion tangling in his words. No execs, no machines, just us. Underdogs one more day. On the screens, green growth crept onward, unstoppable. For the first time, the future was unwritten, and humanity, scarred, battered, but never beaten, held the pen. Outside, the rain didn't just wash away the poison. It seeded a tomorrow worth fighting for. The end and the beginning,